Hello, hope you guys are doing well today. So I have a video for you guys. I do apologize that I have not uploaded. I do this often. I know it's my fault, but life gets in the way a lot of the times, and as well as the fact that I am still waiting for the new controller that I had purchased. It's still being in the process of being shipped, so that way I can use hopefully a much better controller than what I currently am using now. The chunky ass D-pad that this controller has a lot of particular problems with it, so I tend to miss input too often. So I'm hoping that the new controller won't have that particular problem. So without further ado, let me go into explaining the OKI, or the setup in particular you can do with Armor King. Now, for one, the most important thing you have to remember, regardless of which combo route you go for, regardless if you get a wall splat against the opponent at the wall, down forward 1-2 is your bound you're going to be using to set up this particular setup. Again, if you use any other type of bound, like let's say back 3, or if you try to use, let's say, in the case of forward 3-2-1 against the opponent, right? If you do any of that, you won't really get the bound into the setup that you really want to set up with Armor King. So just to be quick, you just simply go into a wall splat of some kind, or if you go for a combo route, whatever it is that you want to do, as long as you get the wall and you have not used a bound yet, you can go into down 4-1-2 into 3-4-1. This immediately sets up the OKI that you want against the opponent. And I'm going to go through all the routes you can go into depending on what the opponent might do against you. Now, in the case if they do decide to go for a quick side roll, you can still do these two options against the opponent to try to stop them in place. Up 1 is a good choice, so if they do decide to go for any other particular move against you, you can counter hit launch them. And if you want something a little faster that also leads into a counter hit launch, down forward 3 is another good option. But you gotta be careful in the case that if the opponent decides to go for an immediate sidewalk to the right or sidestep to the right, because they can still do that and then get away from either up 1 and down forward 3. So it's just a means to check to see if they're going to press any buttons against you. That way you can stop them. I recommend moves like 1+2, even if it's not the full follow-up, because the follow-up can be ducked, and you do have a secondary follow-up you can use, which is a kick, but it's -13. But if you just use, let's say, 1+2, and then you hold back, you're 0 on block. So you can at least initiate that and then get away if you need to reset the neutral. Down forward 3 is another good option that you can use against the opponent as well if they do decide to go for a sidestep to the right or a sidewalk to the right, as this has decent tracking for a low move. So if they do decide to go for that option, you can go for down 3 instead. And of course, going into up back 1, which is plus on block, very plus in fact, you can use this against them instead. But the whole point of the setup is that if they do decide to go for an immediate side roll, and you go into either up 1 or down forward 3, is to simply stop them from pressing any buttons against you once they get up, and to apply more pressure as you're doing so. Now, what if they decide to go for not an immediate side roll because they're just waiting to see your options? What you could possibly do against them once they have been put down in that situation, right? And they do a regular side roll. Well, this is where you can then immediately go into the actual point of this video, which is the OKI that leads into the big damaging routes with Armor King. So if you perform your ground throw, the shove throw that you do with Armor King, you can get a massive amount of damage. Mind you, if they are facing away from you, since you do grab them while they're facing down, this particular string is guaranteed. They can't get away from it. They can't do nothing to do anything really to get away from that particular setup. Of course, you can also perform 4-2-1 instead if you want to do that against the opponent. But 3-4-1 is your best option to get the most damage across against the opponent. And it doesn't matter if they decide to go for either a side roll from either side, or if they just stay completely still. So essentially, this is a monster of an Okizeme you can use against the opponent. Mind you, there are ways to still beat this, even though you have the option to go for a ground throw, right? So let's say, as an example, they don't want to do an immediate side roll. They don't want to do a regular side roll. Instead, they want to do a quick stand-up. This ends up beating your chances of using your ground throw. If they decide to go for instead a backwards roll, this also gets beaten. Though funny enough, if they go for a front roll instead, this actually works against them. Though very unlikely they're going to go ahead and do that unless they misinput it. And the last thing that they can do, regardless of the situation that they do end up going into, if you do go for the ground throw, it can still be broken even if they do decide to go and stay still on the ground facing down, or if they go for a regular side roll against you. So this does have weaknesses. It's not like a complete fail-safe that if they decide to go for like a regular side roll, or they stay grounded completely, or even if they go for a front roll, they can still break the throw. But this is where you can decide to go for a different type of throw that still puts them at the wall depending on the situation. So as an example, let's say that if they want to go and then break your throw, but instead of doing your ground shove throw, you do your other type of ground throw you can use on the ground, your down back 1+3. If you do this, you still have the option to go for another type of ground throw against them. And if, let's say, depending on the particular situation that you're in, if they're closer to the wall, they're not completely far away from trying to get hit towards back at to the wall, you can still perform your ground throw, the shove one, and then still get a combo going. So it's up to you which particular type of ground throw you want to use. If you feel they're not going to break it, then you get big damage. If they are going to break it, then you just go for the other grab instead, which can still give you Okizeme right afterwards. So that's everything. There really isn't anything else that I wanted to showcase in the video. Simply just that, depending on the combo route you go for, let's say you just do something like this. As an example, you do this. And then you go for the ground throw, it can still work. So it doesn't really have to do anything with a special route to get this to work. You just simply do down forward 1-2 at the wall, and then go into 3-4-1. Doesn't matter, you don't have to delay the 3-4-1. You don't have to do any of that to get the OKI to work. You simply have to perform simply your down forward 1-2 to get the bound, and 3-4-1. That's it. And then you get the OKI. So I hope the video was informative, so that way you can then use it into your own gameplay. It's not that difficult to perform really, and in fact I would feel that this has to be probably your best wall ender if you do use your down forward 1-2 against the opponent. I feel like a lot of players won't really use down forward 1-2 against the opponent at the wall because they might want to go for something safer, like let's say they do this and get the ground throw like that. But if you want to go for a different type of Okizeme that still leads into pressure, then you can do the one that I just showcased in the video, like this. And if they go into an immediate side roll, you can do up 1, down forward 3. If they attempt to go for, anything else, you can go for a different option. And if they do stay grounded, then you have the option to go for your ground throw. And if they want to wake up into buttons, then you can go for down forward 3 to kind of help launch them. Or if you want to play it safe, you side roll away and then go for a hop kick, or you can go for up forward 2-1, or if you think you got it in you to perform a dark upper, depending on how quickly they get up, that is, and they're still not, let's say, recovered enough to then block, then you can do that instead. So yeah, I hope you guys, again, found it informative, like the video, subscribe to see more of my shit, and of course, stay tuned, stay safe.